Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today we'll be recapping the Divergent franchise. This will include Divergent, followed by Insurgent, and ending off with Allegiant. Without further ado, make sure you sit back, relax, and as always enjoy the recap. Divergent kicks off in a future where war has devastated humanity, and the last survivors have built a new society within the ruins of Chicago. To maintain order and protect their people, the city's founders construct a massive wall around its borders and divide the population into 5 factions, each based on a core human value. The erudite value knowledge and logic, dedicating themselves to the pursuit of intelligence. Amity focus on peace and harmony, working the land to provide for the city. Candor uphold honesty and justice, believing in absolute truth. The Dauntless serve as the city's soldiers, fearless warriors tasked with maintaining security. Meanwhile, Abnegation practice selflessness, living modestly and putting others before themselves. Though some see them as poor due to their simple way of life, they are entrusted with governing the city because of their self-sacrificing nature. However, not everyone fits into this rigid system. Those who don't belong to any faction are cast out, forced to live as outsiders in a society that values order above all else. The scene then moves to our main character, Beatrice Pryor, a teenage girl raised in abnegation, the faction devoted to selflessness. Like all 16-year-olds in the city, she must take an aptitude test to determine which faction she aligns with best. However, Beatrice has always felt torn. While she respects abnegation's values, she's fascinated by the bold and fearless Dauntless. During her test, Beatrice's results come back as inconclusive. She shows equal aptitude for abnegation, erudite, and Dauntless. This rare result marks her as divergent, meaning she doesn't fit neatly into just one faction. The test administrator, Tori, recognizes the danger of this and quickly alters her results to show abnegation, warning Beatrice to keep her true nature a secret. In this society, the rule is clear: faction before blood. Once someone chooses a faction, they must leave their family behind and fully dedicate themselves to their new way of life. Now, Beatrice faces a life-changing decision: stay with her family in abnegation or follow her instincts and choose a different path. During the choosing ceremony, the two siblings make different, unexpected choices. Beatrice's brother Caleb selects erudite, valuing knowledge over selflessness. Meanwhile, Beatrice, feeling trapped by abnegation's rigid expectations, follows her instincts and chooses Dauntless, the faction that has fascinated her since childhood. Though her aptitude test results were inconclusive, marking her as divergent, the ceremony allows her to choose freely. With this decision, she leaves behind her family, stepping into an uncertain future. As she ascends to street level with the other Dauntless initiates, Beatrice hesitates for a moment before jumping onto the last train car. Inside, she meets Christina, a fellow transfer from Candor who quickly becomes her companion in this new life. Their journey leads them to the rooftop of an unfamiliar building, where Commander Eric welcomes the recruits with a daunting challenge. The only way into the Dauntless compound is to jump off the edge. The test is meant to weed out the weak, and hesitation could mean rejection. Determined to prove herself, Beatrice volunteers to jump first. Some ridicule her boldness, expecting selflessness from an abnegation girl, but she takes a deep breath and leaps, crashing into the safety net below. A Dauntless member helps her up, and as she catches her breath, she realizes this is her chance to reinvent herself. Struggling to introduce herself, she seizes the moment and declares her new name, Triss. Once everyone is inside, they are separated. Those born into Dauntless go with instructor Lauren, while the transfers are assigned to a scout named 4.
My name's 4.
4, like the number? What happened? 1 through 3 were taken?
What's your name?
Christina.
Well, the first lesson you learn from me is keep your mouth shut.
Leading the initiates through the underground compound, 4 introduces them to the pit, the central hub of Dauntless life. The vast cavernous space hums with energy, filled with the sounds of laughter, training, and the occasional reckless dare. As she watches 4, she notices a tattoo on his neck and follows him with quiet curiosity. Upon reaching the initiate's living quarters, 4 explains that these communal spaces will be their home for the next 10 weeks. The setup is far from private, with shared bathrooms and open showers, which immediately draws a complaint from Christina. After settling in, the initiates change into their new Dauntless uniforms. As part of their initiation, they burn their old clothes, symbolically severing ties with their past lives. Later, they head to the cafeteria, where they sit across from Will and Al. The conversation quickly turns into a lively debate about the pros and cons of different factions. Before the discussion can get too heated, the tapping of metal cups silences the room. The Dauntless leader Max steps forward, commanding attention. The initiates quickly stand as he delivers a speech urging them to embrace bravery, believe in themselves, and take pride in their new roles. The more enthusiastic members of Dauntless lift the initiates onto their shoulders, welcoming them into their daring new world. The next day, everyone is woken up to complete the rigorous 2-stage Dauntless training program, which includes the maximum amount of physical endurance as well as mental. Competition is intense, especially when Dauntless born and those that are not are placed side by side. Eric's severe, unforgiving methods contrast sharply with 4's more supportive approach. During one session, Eric pairs the first jumper with the last for a sparring match, highlighting the importance of readiness. Caught off guard, Triss goes head-to-head with another recruit and suffers several hard hits and soon loses consciousness. When Eric posts the final rankings, she finds her name near the bottom. This sobering realization makes her fear she could be cut from the program at any time. Wanting to help Triss feel better, her friends take her to get tattoos. At the salon, she encounters Tori, who questions why she chose Dauntless, but Triss assures her that this path was her own choice. Determined to improve, Triss rises before dawn to train alone. During group practice, Four notices her weaknesses and advises her on how and where to strike for maximum impact. Grateful for his guidance, Triss quietly observes how closely he stands beside her. Later, during a tense duel, Christina caves under the pressure and surrenders. Eric seizes this moment to deliver a sharp lesson about Dauntless values. He forces Christina to hang from a bridge over a deep void, with water dripping from overhead. Exhausted, Christina is about to let go when Eric finally orders her rescue. Through this near fall, he underscores the faction's core belief: Dauntless never give up. Following this, Four decides to take his initiates on a short tour beyond the compound and toward the wall, explaining that while things have seemed calm for years, danger could arise at any time. Preparedness, he stresses, is crucial. Up ahead lies the Amity farm, its land still bearing scars from the war and rumored by Christina to be haunted by strange creatures.
Do you know?
Let's just say they built the fence for a reason.
Back at training, Triss demonstrates impressive skill with throwing knives, her blades hitting their targets almost every time, unlike Al, whose knife slips from his hand. Eric, noticing the slip-up, orders every fallen weapon retrieved. Al hesitates, worried about getting hurt. In response, Eric instructs him to stand completely still against the wall while Four throws knives dangerously close to his body. Any flinch or movement means immediate expulsion. Unable to watch her friend in distress, Triss volunteers to take Al's place. Each knife lands closer and closer until blood trickles from her ear. Impressed by her resolve, Eric awards her extra points, emphasizing how vital self-control is in Dauntless. Though shaken, Triss grows angry with Four for cutting her, only to learn that he acted to end the ordeal before Eric pushed it any further. Her bold move earns her added respect among the recruits, both for her courage and for saving a friend. However, she also provokes the hostility of Peter, a transfer from the Candor faction, who mocks her name, taunts her friends, and looks for every chance to provoke her. Some while later, as the group go for a walk, Janine Matthews, leader of the Erudite faction, appears in the Dauntless compound. The team there believe that Erudite may be hunting for Divergence, which is all they do these days. During a combat session, Eric deliberately pits Triss against Peter. Before the fight begins, Four quietly points out Peter's weaknesses, allowing Triss to land a swift strike to his throat. In retaliation, Peter launches a series of powerful blows that overwhelm Triss, causing her to nearly lose consciousness. Just before darkness takes her, she sees Four leaving the arena. Upon waking, Triss learns that she could be expelled from Dauntless. Determined to stay, she sprints after a train carrying the other initiates. Eric, surprised by her grit, watches as Four helps her aboard, and he ultimately decides to let her remain. Shortly afterward, the leaders arrange a capture the flag contest using special weapons that deliver short bursts of simulated pain. While one team captain chooses the strongest recruits, Four selects those who are quick and determined, making the event a test of both strategy and heart. Upon arriving at the designated location, Eric leads his team to guard the pier, while Four listens to his group's ideas for tactics and strategy. In the midst of their planning, Triss boldly climbs a nearby Ferris wheel to get a better view of the battlefield. Impressed by her initiative, Four follows, though his unease with height soon becomes evident. When a rotting crossbeam breaks beneath Triss's foot, she scrambles for balance and Four catches her, pulling her close. Realizing his fear, Triss teasingly calls him out, sparking a brief playful exchange. From their elevated vantage point, they spot the rival team's flag high atop the lighthouse. Triss suggests a plan. One group will distract the opponents, while Four engages their captain, allowing her and the other girls to move in and claim the flag. Despite confrontations with Peter and Molly along the way, Triss seizes the flag, waving it triumphantly alongside her excited teammates. After the competition, Dauntless members welcome Triss to a modest initiation ritual. Fastened to a steel cable, she zooms across the Chicago skyline, only barely managing to contain her rush of excitement when she finally lands. Upon landing, Four congratulates Triss on her victory, praising her bravery and courage. Having completed the first stage of training, Triss now faces the next challenge, marked by crossing above the red line. When the Dauntless head into the city for their assignments, Natalie Pryor seizes the chance to see her daughter. Overjoyed, Triss embraces her mother and shares her secret. Her mother confirms Triss's suspicions. She is a Divergent. She warns Triss to be cautious around the Erudite and hints that the mental simulation test can be influenced. As Triss enters the simulation area, she notices Molly E. Wood being escorted out, looking disoriented. Then, under Four's supervision, Triss undergoes the test. Entering a trance-like state, she confronts her greatest fears head-on, reminding herself they are only illusions. After just 3 minutes, she regains consciousness. Her quick response leaves Four puzzled, unable to understand how she managed to overcome her fears so swiftly. The aftermath of the psychological test leaves many initiates in shock, while Triss's exceptional performance stirs suspicion among her peers. Peter fuels doubts by hinting that her rapid progress might be swaying others, including Al. During the second simulation, Triss is trapped inside a sealed cube of rising water. With a determined strike on the glass, she breaks free and regains her composure. 4 grows increasingly curious about Triss's test results, pressing her to reveal which faction she was assigned in the sorting. Despite his probing, Triss insists it was abnegation. Later, Tori confides that her brother once tested as Divergent, overcoming fears in unorthodox ways. Tragically, he was discovered dead soon afterward. Tori warns Triss of the severe repercussions if Dauntless discovers her secret. Feeling out of place, Triss turns to her brother Caleb for help, pleading to return to abnegation. Caleb, however, refuses, leaving her feeling more alone than ever. Soon after, Triss encounters Janine Matthews in a stairwell. Inviting Triss to her office under the guise of friendly concern, Janine subtly mentions dangerous divergence hidden by abnegation. She implies she may need Triss's loyalty if someone close to her defies the law. After her tense meeting with Janine Matthews, Triss is driven back to the Dauntless compound by an erudite chauffeur. That evening, she walks alone through the dark corridors expecting a moment to collect her thoughts. Instead, she is ambushed by 3 masked attackers who corner her near a high ledge. Shock turns to heartbreak when she recognizes one of them as Al, the friend she once trusted. 4 then rushes in at the last second, overpowering the attackers and promising to keep her safe until morning. The next day at lunch, Al appears remorseful and begs for Triss's forgiveness, saying it was fueled by fear and jealousy of being kicked out of Dauntless. However, she cannot bring herself to grant him forgiveness. Later, Dauntless members discover Al's lifeless body at the bottom of a deep pit, leaving Triss devastated and guilty. Feeling more alone than ever, she confides in 4 and confesses she is a Divergent. Instead of rejecting her, he suggests focusing on how a true Dauntless would confront fear, without revealing the traits that set her apart. In the course of her training, Triss learns about 4's own fears. She steps into his fear landscape and discovers that he is actually Tobias Eaton, the son of abnegation leader Marcus Eaton. Rumors of Marcus's cruel treatment toward his child, long denied by Triss's father, are suddenly confirmed. This new understanding draws Triss and 4 closer, each carrying hidden scars and secrets that only deepen their resolve. Triss and 4 spend a quiet evening together, sharing their hopes and fears. Curious about the ink beneath his shirt, Triss gently traces the 5 faction symbols on his skin. 4 explains that he wants to embody these virtues: bravery, selflessness, intelligence, honesty, and kindness, without being confined to a single identity. He pulls Triss closer and they have a moment with each other. The next day, 4 reveals to Triss that Erudite is unloading suspicious equipment within Dauntless territory. He shows her a vial containing a serum capable of turning free thinkers into obedient drones, hinting at an entire army under Erudite control. With the final test rapidly approaching, 4 tells Triss they can see her hallucinations on the screen and she needs to get past her fears in a way that is normal. With a few guests watching the final test, Tori wishes her luck and sends her into the simulation. Once inside, Triss looks up to see dozens of crows circling overhead while fire also approaches her. She runs, but the aggressive birds swoop down and attack. As Janine watches closely, Triss suddenly finds herself bound to a pole. She uses the flames around, burning through the rope and plunging her hands into a nearby swamp only to be thrust into another scene, a cage filling with water. Panicking, she blocks the flow with her clothes, fighting the urge to drown. In a flash, the vision shifts again, and Triss faces a new fear. 4 appears and tries to overpower her, but she resists, realizing it is only an illusion. Snapping back to reality, Triss sees Janine, who congratulates her on passing the test. Without warning, Janine hands Triss a pistol and demands that she shoot her parents who stand before her. Triss fights herself but pulls the trigger only to wake up for real, gasping at the sudden jolt back into the Dauntless training room. After her final simulation, Triss and the other successful initiates are gathered for a celebratory speech from the Dauntless leaders, including Max. The new members cheer and follow Eric into another chamber, where he instructs them to line up in 4 columns before nightfall. In an orderly procession, tracking modules are implanted into each soldier, supposedly as a standard procedure. Later that night, Triss wakes to the sound of her fellow Dauntless dressing in identical uniforms. She soon realizes something is wrong. The trackers seem to be controlling their minds, making them follow orders like lifeless puppets. As the higher-ranking officers observe from above, one Dauntless soldier dares to question what is happening. He is immediately shot, a single bullet to the forehead. Horrified, Triss understands that this neuroleptic serum does not work on Divergents. Mimicking the vacant stares of her mind-controlled friends onto a train, Triss spots 4. Slowly moving past rows of blank faces, she finally goes next to him. They exchange relieved looks and grasp each other's hands, aware they must continue pretending if they hope to survive what comes next. Soon enough, the train arrives at abnegation, and the Dauntless soldiers march in perfect unison like a disciplined military force. They systematically search every house, herding the abnegation residents into a central area. 4 and Triss quickly head to her parents' home but find it empty. Stepping outside, they encounter Eric and Max.
Legendary 4. You were first in your class, now you're nothing.
Catching the slightest movement from 4's face, Eric raises his gun. Before he can fire, Triss aims her weapon at him, only for Max to target her. The showdown reveals that Triss and 4 are both Divergent. A fight breaks out and Eric takes a bullet to the leg and Triss takes it in the shoulder. Surrounded by other Dauntless, the two are taken directly to Janine Matthews. At first, she appears startled by their capture, but she quickly reveals her deeper motives. She believes abnegation poses a danger to the entire faction system, claiming their unchecked influence would bring chaos. Divergents are just the same in her books and wants to keep 4 alive for her own purposes and orders Triss's execution. 4 attempts to protect Triss, but he is easily overpowered. Janine's guards restrain him and take him away. As the men go to execute Triss, she faces her fears and is miraculously saved by her mother, Natalie. They quickly take off and Natalie confesses that she defected from Dauntless, which served her well today. Being caught red-handed, the 2 girls show off their amazing accuracy skills and take on every troop in sight. However, Triss hesitates when she sees Will and tries to wake him up, but it is of no use and he is killed. Continuing their escape, Triss is very shaken up at killing her own friend, and her mother tells her this is not the time. With more bogies approaching the area, Triss is shot, and her mother shields her, getting hit in the process. Realizing her mother is on her dying breaths, Triss screams in agony and cries, but to no avail. Losing her mother, she tells her she loves her and keeps running away until she finds a place to hide for the time being. Collecting her thoughts and processing what the actual fuck just happened, she surveys the abandoned building and finds her father, Andrew, and the rest of the abnegation faction there. When her father discovers that his wife did not make it, Caleb comes to the scene and learns the hard truth. The leader, Marcus, wants them all to leave, and Caleb is so confused why Dauntless is fighting for the Erudites. With Triss saying the troops are in a simulation, she wants to break them out of it. Taking only a small team and heading right into the Dauntless stronghold through the net she jumped on earlier, the mission begins. Going through the base, Triss discovers Peter standing guard and holds him at gunpoint. Confused as to why Peter is awake, she shoots him and wants to know the location of the control room. Moving through the base with Peter at the front, she finds the room with some reinforcements inside it. Triss's dad decides to go in guns blazing, and with the help of the others they clear the section. But it seems it came at the cost of her dad, which causes Caleb major unease. Triss presses forward alone and quietly approaches the main section. Inside, she sees the whole operation taking place and needs a plan. Spotting 4 hooked up to a chair, she approaches him and cuts him free, which was a costly mistake. Janine then comes in with her crew and laughs at how chemistry has altered and destroyed his past life. With Janine hating everyone exercising their own independent will, which is a threat for their society, she plans on eradicating the Divergents. Ordering 4 to kill Triss, the 2 initiate a heated battle, with 4 clearly being the harsher and stronger opponent. Triss stands absolutely no chance and is fortunate enough to grab a gun and hold it at 4. She then decides to change her approach a touch.
It's okay. Look at me.
4 then magically wakes up to his real self and turns on everyone in the room with extreme prejudice. Showing no mercy as they have proven to show, Janine orders her troops to kill the remaining abnegation members and Triss stops her with a knife. With 4 providing guard, Triss demands that Janine shut the operation down, but Janine is honestly a stubborn bitch. Looking around the room to see a slaughter is about to happen, Triss gets a brilliant idea. She calls herself a Divergent and shoots the simulation serum into Janine, making her a mindless puppet. She immediately shuts down the operation and Dauntless get control of themselves again. Janine also awakens and is angered by her defeat, causing her to lunge at Triss and get knocked out. With security on their way, 4 says it's time to go and is reunited with his piece of shit father. Nonetheless, the group run and leap on the train as it moves.
My dad died today.
4 tells his love that they have each other now, and even though they are no longer branded by a faction, they will live as outcasts, stripped from faction and family with uncertainty in their future. But for now, they will run the train to the end of the line and take a leap of faith. Insurgent kicks off with Janine making an announcement, stating that peace can only be found with their system of factions. By dividing people according to personality and aptitude, their society's social order is only threatened by divergence. Exercising her authority to initiate martial law, Janine claims that the attack on abnegation was all orchestrated by the Divergents, and she vows not to rest until the threat is eliminated. With Eric and Max acquiring something very powerful, we pan to the city of Chicago, where Janine's announcement projects onto multiple buildings. Elsewhere, the outlaws live on the outskirts of the wall when they come across an Amity farm. Needing to ensure the area is safe, Triss doesn't listen and rushes straight to the people. Seeking help, everyone looks at her like she's a demon, and Christina swears at her for killing Will. Tripping out, her father and mother suddenly appear and Triss wakes up from the nightmare. With everyone sleeping around her, she gets out of bed to watch the sunrise. Spotting scissors nearby, Triss remembers how her mother used to cut her hair before she died. Deciding to make a change, the scene transitions to a few hours later where 4 is playing with some Amity kids. Triss approaches him and shows off her new hairdo, and he pretends to like it.
Well, it's definitely different. I like it a lot. I'm just surprised, that's all.
When he asks if she still gets nightmares, she denies it, and we cut to where the crew is hiding. The Amity farm, Marcus soon arrives and tells his son to stop ignoring him because he has something important to say. He explains that Triss's mother didn't return to the war zone just to save her daughter. She died trying to hide something powerful from Janine, but he's forced to stop talking. It turns out his guess was correct, as Janine has now recovered this powerful device. Unfortunately for her, only a Divergent can open the box, so she needs to capture one alive. In the meantime, the big annoyance Peter doesn't like Triss's hair that much and moves on to tell Caleb that they are being blamed for the whole previous attack, using this so the council can give Janine the right to use martial law. The team plans their next moves, which Triss knows is to kill Janine. Peter then decides to throw a stray at Triss.
I'll stay with Caleb so that you don't get him killed too.
What?
Come on, you know, like you did your parents.
This immediately sparks a fight between Triss and Peter, forcing Four to break it up. The Amity leader, Johanna, then puts all the fugitives in her office to lecture them. Citing that they can no longer stay with Amity because their presence is too destructive, Triss fires back and calls Johanna a weakling for not standing up to Janine. The crew is given one more chance, with a warning that if anything else happens, they'll be kicked out. A major problem arises when Eric and his men storm onto the farm, toppling everything in their path. Johanna approaches Max and Eric, who demand that she allow her faction to be tested for divergence. With no real choice, the troops order all Amity members to enter the dome for testing. As expected, everyone is terrified, and Eric decides to go inside the building Johanna is guarding. Four realizes they need to move, and Eric gets distracted long enough for the group to begin their escape. Peter, the ratbag snitch, yells that the Divergents are hiding upstairs. Immediately, the group takes out two hostiles and makes a run for it. Eric simultaneously issues an announcement and chaos erupts. While Peter is arrested, the trio finds themselves pursued by military trucks. Frankly, I'd just give up at this point, but they flee into the woods, forcing Eric's men to chase them on foot. Eventually, they emerge on the other side, where shots are exchanged. Four cleverly uses an oncoming train to buy them time, but instead of running off, the trio pries open a carriage door and jumps inside, narrowly escaping Eric and his men for now. But their problems are far from over when quite a few factionless people appear out of nowhere. With Four asking for no trouble, Caleb jumps up and tries to make it better but does not. A small fight breaks out, but it quickly stops. However, Triss and Four know there is no way around this problem other than brute force, and they start a massive brawl. Caleb is not really the fighting type until he is forced into the situation, and the crew have pretty much cleared the carriage when the leader suddenly attacks Triss. Caleb just watches like a moron, and just as Triss is about to literally die, Four jumps to the rescue as usual and saves her ass. The remaining men there hold Caleb hostage and are about to strike when Four reveals his real name is Tobias Eaton. They claim to have been looking for him, and Triss is beyond confused. With the fight stopping, they all jump out of the train and the trio are escorted like some VIPs into what looks like a military compound. With everyone being factionless, it is astounding what they have accomplished. It is then revealed that the leader of the factionless is Four's mother, Evelyn, who was supposed to be dead. The three stooges are then taken into an awkward meeting when Evelyn explains how Tobias's father was very abusive and the only way to be safe was to completely disappear. Abnegation helped fake her death, but Four is dirty that she had left him alone with the monster.
I'm still your mother.
No, my mother's dead.
She wants an army.
No, what you want is revenge.
It's about putting an end to a system that says one group is more deserving than another.
You willing to kill Janine?
Absolutely.
We can't trust her.
My people are ready for war.
Then what?
We depose those in power.
Who's in power then? That she always conveniently leaves out.
I know where the remaining Dauntless are hiding. They took shelter in Candor.
But we'll be leaving in the morning.
Tobias, too.
Don't you call me that.
My name's Four.
You want to tuck him in, or should I?
Later that night, Triss wakes to see Evelyn watching her and Four. Explaining she loved watching her son sleep, Evelyn only wants the best for him and Triss turns around to see him dead. Waking up for real, Triss's nightmares seem to be a compounding problem for her. The next morning, Four forces the others to leave when Caleb decides he doesn't want to go to Candor. With their plan to find the rest of Dauntless and attack Erudite, Caleb doesn't believe in it, nor is he cut out for it. Wanting to return to what's left of Abnegation, he simply walks away. As it stands, Four and Triss are now alone and hear an announcement saying there is a curfew. The duo eventually arrive at Candor and are reunited with their old buddies. Christina is so happy to see Triss, but when she's asked about Will, she lies and the conversation ends. Tori explains to Four that they have only 175 members of Dauntless left, with the rest following Max. Suddenly, Candor's men aim their guns at the two Divergents and lock them up. Their leader, Jack Kong, believes the two Divergents are a threat to Candor and plans on handing them over to the council to decide their fate.
Do you believe that Candor is most fit to judge because you're so honest?
I do hold that belief.
Jack believes that is a correct statement, and a trial at Candor would be fairer. As part of Candor's initiation, though, they must inject truth serum, and Four suggests they use it on both he and Triss to prove their innocence. Jack agrees and the fun begins. With everyone around them watching, Four is injected first and immediately feels woozy. Jack questions him about the entire attack on Abnegation, and he answers everything exactly as it happened and also confesses he stayed in Dauntless because he fell in love with Triss and didn't want to leave her.
Thank you for your candor.
Being absolved of guilt, Triss is told to step forward and gets injected. Walking to the center of the room, I know exactly what's about to happen here. Confessing to being a Divergent, everyone begins murmuring.
My mom. I watched her die first. And then my dad. They were killed trying to save me.
The more you resist, the more painful the serum will be.
I killed my friend.
What was his name?
Will. I killed Will.
Crying as people that get close to her end up dying, Jack Kong has heard enough and walks away. A very hurt Triss then leaves and is not happy For suggested the truth serum idea. Christina also doesn't want to speak to Triss anymore for lying, and the scene cuts to Janine torturing a Divergent using a specialized simulation chamber. As the system tries to force the subject through a series of grueling mental and physical tests, the subject dies on the spot. Realizing that not all Divergents are the same and some are not as strong as others, she assigns everyone to find the special one. Triss meanwhile sits on the roof when Uriah joins her. Out of nowhere, grappling guns are shot from one rooftop to their own. Immediately, a gunfight breaks out and Uriah is shot. More intruders make their way onto the rooftop and Triss makes a run for it. The assassins show extreme prejudice and shoot many innocent women as well as Triss. Believing she is unconscious and leaving her alone next to tens of bodies, Triss awakens and realizes the bullets used is a sim that doesn't affect Divergents. A little girl there seems to be a Divergent also and is told to hide. As the intruders continue their work through the building, Triss runs to the armory which is locked. Uriah joins her and discovers he is a Divergent and that's why he is awake. The two are then busted by Eric, who is very happy to see Triss. Putting her in cuffs alongside the other Divergents, Eric uses a new machine that tells him one of their prisoners is only 10% Divergent. Killing him on the spot, Max tells him to stop and Eric moves to the little girl who is only 40%. Eric goes to kill her but Triss' shoulder charges him and is held on the ground and kicked. The machine reading then comes back with Triss being 100% Divergent and Aris doesn't believe it, and does a second test which has the same reading. Walking out of the building with their prisoners, For and the other Divergents come to rescue Triss yet again. Eric teases For and calls him a little weakling with a gun. Being fair, the two fight hand to hand and let's just say Eric stands no freaking match. With Triss being the perfect subject for Janine, For takes out his gun and kills Eric on the spot. Triss gets somewhat turned on and everyone wakes up out of their sleeping sims. Kong immediately approaches For and is starstruck that Janine is this corrupt. For announces it's time to fight back and time to unite with the factionless. With Janine being told that Triss is who they're looking for, Max believes Peter is the best way to track her down. Eager for a position in Janine's regime, Peter is promised a reward if he proves his worth. For, on the other hand, agrees to join forces with his mother to destroy the factions. However, Janine and Peter use the newly implanted control chips, fired into several people the previous night, to force individuals like Christina to demand Triss's surrender or their death. They threaten that someone will die each day until she complies. Triss manages to save Christina, but someone else is killed in the process. With everyone realizing the Sim serum injector with a radio transmitter inside is impossible to get out, it self-protects itself and kills the host if removed. With many people believing Triss should be handed over, For and his teammates refuse to do so. As everyone bickers and argues, Triss thinks long and hard about her decision. That night, she makes the hard choice to break For's heart and turn herself in. Sneaking out and leaving, she walks straight into Janine's hands. As she is escorted through her headquarters, For is about to murder the whole world just to get Triss back despite his mother trying to stop him and not wanting him to leave. Peter, the piece of shit ratbag snitch mutt, comes to taunt Triss. Grabbing her and getting a power trip, she is taken to the box and told to open it at gunpoint. Janine, the other bitch, watches through the other side of the glass and rambles on and on about the greater good. But she made one mistake, putting a gun in the same room as Triss. Stealing it from Peter, she threatens to shoot him unless the sims on her friends are deactivated. With Janine not really caring, Triss shoots the glass but to no avail. Instead, she comes up with a clever idea and threatens Janine. But Janine uses her trump card and it would appear that Caleb has joined her side. Janine promises that if she passes the 5 tests, her friends will not be killed anymore, and the trials begin. Getting hooked up to the simulation, the box begins its first phase, and the Dauntless Sim activates. Inside the test, Triss sees a destroyed city and her mother in trouble. Getting stuck inside a burning building which magically floats towards the sky, Triss hangs on for dear life and is not doing so well. Losing her grip and falling, she chases the burning building and stupidly jumps but makes the catch. Getting to the ledge and seeing her mother inside, the floating building starts flipping upside down and Triss does well to maneuver. Eventually, she grabs a hold of her mother and the test ends with the Dauntless Sim being completed. With Triss telling her mother she misses her, her mother reassures her and says she needs to be strong now. Confessing she is not brave and it's all an act, Triss is starting to believe Divergence might be what's wrong with the world and spills her heart out. The Candor Sim is then completed, and Triss awakens to see a gunfight in front of her. The door next to her explodes and 4 rescues her once again. Carrying her to safety, Peter is seen helpless on the ground, but Triss lets him go. As she runs through the hallway with 4, she realizes something is wrong and knows this is part of the simulation. 4 then suddenly begins breaking apart, and as he dissolves into the background, the Erudite Sim is completed. When she spared Peter's life, she also completed abnegation and only amity remains. However, with the test being so tough, Triss is crashing and needs some rest. Janine accepts and says everything will resume tomorrow. By herself later, Triss doesn't look so well and is paid a visit by her pathetic, useless brother. Arguing that what Janine is doing is for the betterment of society, the box was a message from the founders who said it was only to be opened if the faction systems were failing. Triss alone is living proof of that.
She killed our parents.
Our parents brought that on themselves.
The box was hiding inside their own house, and all those lives could have been spared. Peter then invites himself in and tells Triss he has a surprise for her. With 4 locked up in a cell right beside them, Triss pleads with Janine to let 4 go, but she changes the subject and says she is full of hate right now and needs to pass the amity sim, which is of peacefulness and kindness. Saying all this happened because her stupid mother Natalie wanted to selfishly hide the data in the box. It is her daughter that will open it for her, which is ironic. Both Triss's mother and boyfriend's death will be for nothing. Triss suddenly breaks free and goes right through the glass to tackle Janine, who disappears. Everything suddenly explodes around her, and Triss is tossed out of the breaking building into the city. As you'd expect, she's in the sim, and Triss's whole world comes crashing before her very eyes. Falling to the ground, she dies, and the test was an abysmal fail.
Bring her back! No! Come on! Bring her back!
Being told the subject is dead and no longer viable, Janine really destroyed her own plans and is not happy. Wanting to resume their search for the one, Caleb almost sheds a tear and is told to find solace. Even Peter feels quite bad for Triss as she is placed on her last bed and escorted to 4. Being showed the love of his life is now dead, 4 goes to kill Peter and Triss breathes back to life. With the help of Peter, the guards are taken out, and it would seem that this was Peter's plan all along to fake her death and help her escape. Triss is so happy that 4 has come back for her, but it's time to leave. However, Triss wants to retrieve the box and believes Janine is wrong about it. Changing their plan to retrieve the box before they leave, they split up and Peter goes to the control center. 4 simultaneously takes out 2 guards and tries making his way into the simulation area. Seeing it on the computer, Peter authorizes access for 4 to enter. Once the duo go inside to retrieve the box, a security alert activates and Janine takes a look to see cameras aren't working in the sim room. Back with Evelyn, Tori has managed to safely remove the little device and takes it out of everyone, causing Evelyn to prepare her army for battle. At the sim room, Triss changes her mind and does not want to leave. Planning to open the box her mom protected all these years, she convinces 4, who shuts the door and locks himself and Triss in the room. Once Triss is in the amity sim, Janine stands there and mocks her to try and get a reaction. But this isn't the test. The one person that Triss has to fight is herself. Claiming to be the real her shadow launches an attack and Triss refuses to fight. The first door guarding the room is then breached and Triss is forced to fight back against her dark shadow. The shadow, which is basically Triss's nightmares on display, claims that everyone around her will die, but Triss fights through it and puts her hands down. As her shadow runs to her, 4 is shot and Triss beats herself. With the amity sim being completed, Janine stops Max and the message begins. Triss watches as a hologram of a woman appears. The woman there claims to be from outside the wall and that they designed the city of Chicago as an experiment. Saying factions were created to ensure peace, divergence will be among them and will transcend factions and are the entire reason for the experiment and humanity's survival. With Triss being proof the mission has succeeded, the hologram says it is time to emerge from isolation and rejoin them beyond the wall. As the message ends, everyone is in shock that their whole lives have been a lie. Triss tells Janine that divergence were the solution, not the mistake, but Janine wants to hide what she uncovered today. But just then, their building is breached by Dauntless and the Factionless. Janine is arrested on the spot and Evelyn shows her face, which trips Janine out. Caleb is also arrested and Peter watches everything triumphantly. 4 gets a grand plan and puts the message to every single monitor in the city. All faction leaders and the underlings see the entire truth of everything, and that it is time to leave. And with that, everyone begins evacuating their positions and heads to the wall. 4 tells his beloved that they did it, and Triss has changed everything. The second movie concludes with every single soul walking through the city and towards the wall where their new life awaits. Just before everything ends, Evelyn visits Janine in prison and aims a gun to her head. Allegiant starts where we left off, but with Evelyn making a bold decision, locking the gate to the city walls, preventing anyone from leaving. Triss and 4 are shocked. To them, it feels like something Janine would have done. Still, 4 decides to talk to his mother, hoping to convince her to reconsider. Later, as Triss heads to City Hall with her friends, Tori and Christina, they prepare for the trial of those who supported Janine. When they arrive, Johanna speaks to Triss. She suggests that Triss should see herself as a leader, but Triss quickly dismisses the idea, saying she has no interest. Johanna, however, reminds her that true leaders don't choose themselves. Soon after, Max is brought forward for trial amongst the people. The crowd demands his execution. Evelyn hesitates, unsure of what to do, but Johanna warns her not to let the trial turn into an execution. Despite the warning, Evelyn gives in to the crowd's demands and orders Max's death. This angers Johanna, who refuses to be part of Evelyn's rule and storms out. 4 is also deeply disappointed in his mother, expecting it however. He confronts her and Evelyn insists that she's only doing what's necessary. But 4 pushes back, telling her she's becoming exactly like Janine. Evelyn disagrees, arguing that sometimes leaders have to make difficult choices. Afterward, 4 meets with Triss and the two share their frustration over how Evelyn is running the factionless society. Triss admits she still wants to go beyond the wall and see what's out there. 4 tries to talk her out of it, but she insists. She won't be able to live with herself if she doesn't at least try. Even though Caleb was a ratbag towards his sister, the duo plan to break him out. 4 approaches the man watching Caleb in the cell and tells him Evelyn sent him to retrieve the boy, walking Caleb right through the crowd and escaping where Triss is waiting for them. The guards spot Caleb. 4 fakes to kill the boy and the guards leave the trio alone, who head for the wall. However, the man watching the cell approaches Edgar and reports to him that Caleb was taken by 4. Meanwhile, Peter finds the trio and convinces them to let him tag along. Not long after, they approach a checkpoint and need permission to leave. 4 is about to resort to whatever means necessary when Christina arrives with the bullshit papers and the group are granted access. But before they can get too far, Edgar realizes exactly what's happening. Wasting no time, he gathers his soldiers and tells them 4 is helping a fugitive escape past the wall, and they will shoot to kill. Triss and the others almost reach the wall when they link up with Tori. Getting their tools ready to climb the wall, they wait till the coast is clear and begin their escape. A silent alarm is triggered, and the crew fire their grappling guns and begin climbing in extraordinary fashion. But once at the top, they discover the metal fence is rigged with electricity to stop anyone from escaping. With Christina being hurt but alive, Triss climbs back down and plants a bomb on the power generator. Edgar and his men close in fast, but as Triss detonates the bomb and knocks out the power, 4 grabs her and scrambles back up just in time. Being able to cut the electric fence, they pause, stunned by the wasteland stretching beyond the wall. Before they can move forward, Edgar fires at them, hitting Tori. She instantly dies on the spot, and as the crew is down 1 member, Triss is devastated, but with Edgar already trying to break through the wall, 4 tells her they have to keep going. Descending the wall, the group steps into unfamiliar territory. The wasteland stretches before them, nothing like the world they knew. In shock, they move forward, realizing this isn't what they expected. The message that once urged them to escape and reunite with humanity feels more like a false promise. There's no welcoming party waiting for them. As they continue, Caleb suddenly remembers something important. Radioactive chemicals linger in the ground, especially in the water. Before they can process this, rain begins to fall, forcing them to find shelter. Once they're safe, Christina starts to doubt whether anyone actually lives beyond the wall. But Triss remains hopeful, convinced that they'll find someone soon. After a while, the group continues their journey, but suddenly, Edgar appears in his truck, still determined to kill them. As bullets fly towards them, they make a run for it. 4 fires back though, and he expertly takes out Edgar's passenger. But Edgar doesn't stop, he speeds up, ready to ram the crew down. Just as things seem hopeless, they cross an invisible barrier, revealing a hidden camouflage wall. On the other side, a group of soldiers is already waiting. The team is stunned, but their leader quickly reassures them, telling them to stay calm. Without hesitation, he uses advanced weaponry to blast Edgar's truck away from the wall, forcing him to retreat. The soldiers then activate protective energy shields, advanced technology designed to protect Triss and the others from the radiation in the area. Once secured, they are taken away. As they soar through the air, Triss is overwhelmed with relief, knowing she was right all along. Eventually, they arrive at their destination, a place known as the Bureau of Genetic Welfare. When they arrive, they encounter a man named Matthew, who escorts them into a set of individual decontamination chambers, ensuring they are cleansed from any dangerous pollutants lingering beyond the wall. Once each person is sterilized, they receive small tracking tags on their wrists, which allows the facility to identify them easily. Reunited afterward, they watch a revealing video explaining that the destruction of civilization occurred because people had attempted to enhance their genetic makeup, striving for perfection. As a result, the planet was left in ruins, and only those with unaltered pure DNA founded a governing institution called the Bureau. Right after absorbing this shocking truth, Matthew arrives again to guide them to their temporary living quarters. Along the way, they pass a group of enthusiastic children, who seem genuinely thrilled to meet them. Triss wonders how these youngsters recognize them, so Matthew clarifies that the Bureau has been monitoring all the events happening inside the city's walls. It becomes evident that every move they made was observed from a distance. Back in the city, Evelyn confronts Edgar, furious that he tried to kill her son. But Edgar pushes back, arguing his case. Their tense exchange ends with Evelyn giving a decisive order: her troops must prepare for war. Meanwhile, at the Bureau of Genetic Welfare, Matthew informs Triss that the director wants to see her. She asks if 4 can come along, but Matthew explains that the director only requested her. Following this, Matthew instructs Triss to use her tag to unlock a transport pod. which will take them to meet the director David. As they travel, Triss gazes out at the vast wasteland, realizing just how massive the world truly is. Matthew then reveals that the city inside the wall is Chicago, once just one of many major cities that existed before the collapse. Soon, they arrive at David's office. He greets Triss warmly, telling her he has been watching her since she was a child. He expresses admiration for how she handled Janine. Then, shifting the conversation, he acknowledges the turmoil in Chicago but tells her not to worry. There's more important work ahead. David explains that genetic modifications in the past led to widespread damage, corrupting people's genes. He then delivers a shocking revelation. Out of everyone in the Chicago experiment, only Triss has managed to heal and become genetically pure. Caleb, 4, and the others, however, remain damaged. Triss is stunned. When she asks how she can help, David tells her he wants to take her to Providence, where a special council oversees global efforts to restore genetic purity. He believes Triss is proof that his experiment is working. Still unsure, Triss hesitates. To convince her, David reveals something deeply personal. Her mother was involved in his project. Watching her mother's core memories of her past, it is revealed that she once lived in the wastelands. However, her little tribe was attacked by literal barbarians. Watching through her mother's perspective, she was grabbed alongside other children when the Bureau arrived. The bandits fled, and the children alongside Natalie were saved. As she grew older, she willingly volunteered for the Chicago experiment, hoping to help others. Seeing this, Triss begins to believe that she too might have a role in helping the Bureau's cause. Later that day, Triss meets with 4 and tells him about her mother's past involvement with the Bureau. But instead of reassured, he looks uneasy. He doesn't trust them. Triss, however, believes her mother made the right choice and she's determined to follow in her footsteps. The next morning, as Triss prepares for another meeting with David, 4 tries to unlock the pod using his tag, but it doesn't work. He quickly realizes that only Triss' tag has access. Though this makes him uncomfortable, he hides his feelings and acts as if everything is fine. After Triss leaves, a woman named Nita approaches 4, introducing herself as his military trainer. Once upstairs, David explains one of the council's many rules includes that very few are allowed up here.
But Triss, I don't know who told you that being different was a bad thing.
Knowing he can easily replicate Triss's DNA, all he needs is time. Meanwhile, Caleb and Peter are assigned to the surveillance department, where they monitor Chicago. Peter is bored by the job, frustrated that it mostly involves sitting around. Caleb, on the other hand, enjoys it. He soon discovers that he can navigate through Chicago using an advanced system, though no one inside the city can see him nor can he be harmed. 4, on the other hand, begins his advanced weaponry training. With the Fringe being a tough place to be in, Christina also gets her own manager and the training begins. Utilizing drones around him, it can even stop bullets if he wants. 4 begins shooting at dummies hiding around the place. And let's just say, no matter whether he is in Chicago or anywhere else, he is still the best soldier there is. Nita is very impressed by his performance, and the scene cuts to Triss being scanned by David.
If my mother was born in the Fringe, then how did she end up in Chicago?
You know, the council's always careful how they introduce any new element to the experiment.
Asking if the council will intervene since there's a war inside, David assures Triss that intervention will come. But for now, everything happening in Chicago is up to its people. Meanwhile, Caleb watches a tense encounter unfold. Evelyn leads Edgar and her soldiers toward Johanna, Uriah, and a group of dauntless soldiers. Evelyn demands Johanna's loyalty to maintain peace, but Johanna refuses, declaring that the faction system is gone. She and her people now identify as Allegiants. As tensions rise, Johanna warns that she will fight if necessary. Before she can act, Edgar suddenly kills one of the Allegiants, forcing the others to flee. Caleb immediately reports this to 4. As they talk, Triss notices them from a distance. Caleb eventually leaves, and 4 fills Triss in on what's happening in Chicago. He asks if David can step in, but Triss explains that only the council has the authority to act. 4 struggles to accept this and begins questioning the Bureau's true intentions. Triss defends them, but 4 presses her further. When was she planning to tell him that the Bureau considers him damaged? Triss insists that she didn't think it mattered, but 4 is clearly hurt. As tensions escalate, Matthew arrives to take Triss to another meeting with David. Watching her leave, 4 approaches Nita and tells her he wants to join her team for an upcoming raid in the Fringe, a dangerous part of the wasteland. Later, Triss meets with David, who apologizes for any tension he may have caused between her and 4. Triss, however, assures him that they're fine. While all this happens, the commander Romit says they will be conducting a dangerous humanitarian mission, saying the mission is to save as many kids as possible from the hellish conditions the operation begins. With multiple ships landing, all the humans there scatter for their lives like the boogeyman has come for them. As troops rush out of the ships, 4 makes his own way around and sees kids crying for their parents but being forcefully moved to the ships. 4 continues through and sees someone running away. Hearing gunfire in the distance, 4's drones are activated and he sees a kid running with his dad. Chasing him using the advanced tech, he holds both of them at gunpoint and says he's here to help. They don't want to listen to him, but when another soldier intervenes, he kills the father at point-blank range. The kid cries for his dad, but he is manhandled and 4 is confused at what the hell they are even doing in this place. The scene then pans out and we witness daughters and sons being ripped away from their parents' arms. Back at the bureau, Triss is leaving for Providence and asks Peter and Caleb if they've seen 4. But with David on deck, Peter tries to score a few brownie points.
I was wondering if I could talk to you about my job. Totally fine. We'll talk tomorrow.
Once the children have been captured, they get vaccinated on the spot. 4 pulls Nita to the side and asks what is going on. Christina then brings a kid and asks what his name is, and he doesn't have a clue. It would seem the bureau is mind-wiping these children, and 4 tells Nita they're not saving kids, they're stealing them. She replies by saying that is David's orders. To steal kids, vaccinate them, wipe their memories, and send them to the bureau to live. But you know the type of man 4 is, and you also know he's not going to stand down. At Chicago, hundreds of Johanna's unarmed civilians are killed. Refusing to surrender, she tells them to prepare for war, and this time she'll take the fight to Evelyn by any means necessary. Caleb and 4 watch all this unfold and need to step in. 4 wants to intervene and takes a high-ranking member hostage to head to David's office despite Nita's warnings. Walking through the front door, he sees Triss by herself and says they're leaving. As David and his men arrive, 4 claims that David is stealing kids from their families and killing some of their parents. David tells him they are getting a better life and that sometimes unfortunate accidents happen and parents are killed. With David claiming they can either save a sick old man or a child, he walks away and Triss must decide her fate. She believes that meeting the council is more important than 4 right now and chooses David's side. Leaving to Providence, the duo get going and set off in a shuttle. 4 is told he can return to Chicago if he chooses, and both Matthew and Romit go to escort him there. As David tells Triss that they are working to save the planet, 4 finds himself seated between Matthew and Romit. Leaning in, Matthew whispers to 4, revealing that only David's ship has access through the camouflage wall. Realizing they aren't actually taking him to Chicago, 4 immediately resists. A fight breaks out and Matthew joins in to help. In the chaos though, the pilots are killed. With no one left to control the ship, it spirals out of control and crashes. But 4 and Matthew survive the crash. As they recover, 4 tells Matthew that he's heading to Chicago to warn Evelyn that Johanna is not the real enemy. With Matthew's role to inform Triss about where he's going, 4 is handed Matthew's ID, explaining that it will grant him access through the camouflage wall. He warns 4 that the Bureau needs his help and that David is more dangerous than he seems. Determined, 4 walks straight to the wall. As he approaches, a bot scans the ID, verifying his credentials. Within moments, the system grants him access, and he steps beyond the barrier. In the meantime, David and Triss travel to Providence to meet the council. Once there, David proposes replicating Triss's gene in damaged individuals. But the council, skeptical of his honesty, remains unconvinced and asks Triss to speak. Unsure of what's happening, she insists people can't be categorized and urges intervention in Chicago's crisis. The council notes that David alone controls Chicago and is merely seeking more funds. Realizing he can't manage his own city, the council doubts him. On the way back, Triss accuses David of betraying her trust. He reveals he's restoring the faction system in Chicago, a plan Triss dislikes but feels powerless to stop. When they arrive at the Bureau, Matthew hurries to David and informs him that 4 has already escaped. But in secret, he whispers to Triss that 4 is actually in Chicago. However, 4 hasn't arrived yet. He's taking a short break from the rain. Meanwhile, David calls Peter into his office and asks him to sit. He offers Peter any position he desires as long as he helps him carry out a task in Chicago. Eager for power, Peter quickly accepts. Triss, in the meantime, needs help tracking 4 using the surveillance system. She reluctantly asks Caleb for help and warns him not to tell anyone. At the same time, David sends Peter straight to Chicago. There, Evelyn is desperate to know where her son is. Peter doesn't have an answer, but he does offer her something else. He claims he has a way for her to win the war. Meanwhile, Caleb tells Triss that he has found 4. But before she can react, he adds that there's something else she needs to see. He then pulls up the footage. 4 has been captured by Evelyn's soldiers. As they watch, they see Peter speaking with Evelyn. He advises her to release amnesia gas into the city, claiming it's part of David's plan to help her. He even suggests testing it out. Curious, Evelyn uses a small dose on her ex and watches as his memories disappear completely. Even after seeing its effects, Evelyn insists she'll only use the gas as a last resort. She then visits 4, who pleads with her to stop the war. But she refuses. As she walks away, Edgar steps in and tells 4 that sooner or later Evelyn will have no choice but to use the gas on everyone. 4 refuses to accept this. He fights Edgar and the soldiers, but they overpower him and beat him down. Watching from afar, Triss turns to Caleb and tells him, "It's time to go home." Triss then confronts David, accusing him of trying to erase the memories of everyone in Chicago. David coldly responds, saying they deserve it because they're damaged. But Triss refuses to accept that. Without hesitation, she steals his ship. David immediately orders his guards to stop her. Meanwhile, as Triss prepares to leave with Caleb and Christina, Nita hands them guns, revealing that not everyone in the Bureau supports David. Armed and ready, they head for Chicago. David's soldiers try to shoot them down, and for a moment, it seems like they might succeed. But before they can, Triss maneuvers the ship through the camo wall, escaping just in time. Elsewhere, Johanna's soldiers have already begun their attack. Watching the chaos unfold, Peter turns to Evelyn and urges her, it's time to use the amnesia gas. Just then, Triss lands atop Evelyn's headquarters and heads off with Christina to find 4, while Caleb stays behind to figure out the best way to stop the gas release. Pushing through the chaos, Triss and Christina fight their way through the building using the advanced weaponry until they finally reach 4. Triss apologizes for not listening to him earlier, but 4 reassures her by saying she was only doing what she thought was right. With no time to waste, they rush to find Evelyn, who has already started the gas release. When they finally reach her, 4 takes down Edgar and pleads with his mother to stop. He warns her that the gas will wipe out everyone's memories. Triss backs him up, insisting that everything Evelyn was told is a lie. Realizing that 4 would also be affected, Evelyn hesitates, then makes her decision. She reaches for the controls to stop the gas, but Peter shoots her, locking her inside the vault. With no one left to stop him, he proceeds to release the gas into the city. As the gas spreads, everyone scrambles to avoid breathing it in. Caleb tries to guide Triss on how to stop the release, but before he can finish, David cuts their comms. Determined to help, Caleb decides to go inside and find her himself. Meanwhile, Peter notices that the vault is filling with amnesia gas. Triss seizes the moment and urges him to open the door. He hesitates at first, but eventually gives in, unlocking the vault and letting them in. Without a word, he walks away and 4 tells him they'll cross paths again. Triss quickly tries to shut down the gas release using the controls, but realizes it won't work. Just then, Caleb arrives in time to tell her the only way to stop it is by destroying an isolation valve in the building. Wasting no time, Triss uses the Bureau's advanced weapons to locate the valve. But David isn't done yet. He appears through the surveillance system, warning Triss that he won't let her succeed. As he locks doors to stop her, she finds a weak spot in the wall, blasts through it, and reaches the valve without hesitation. She destroys it, halting the gas release for good. Returning to the others, she thanks Caleb for his help. He simply responds, "That's what family does." Then Triss decides to send a message to David. Standing before the city, she exposes David's plan to divide the pure from the damaged. As her message spreads, Caleb plants explosives in David's ship and sends it straight toward the camouflage wall, where Peter stands outside yelling for David to let him in. As the blast tears through the wall, Peter makes a run for it and escapes. Triss ends her message with one final declaration: Chicago is their home, not David's experiment. Just as she embraces 4, David appears behind them, his face filled with rage. His plans are in ruins. Thank you all so much for staying until the end. If you enjoyed this video, a like goes a long way, and as always, stay awesome and take care.